On a frozen slope in the Ural Mountains, searchers found a tent that had been slashed open, not from the outside, by something trying to get in. From the inside, by the people trying to get out. Their boots were still in it. Their coats were still in it. Their food was laid out as if dinner was about to be served. And 9 experienced hikers had run from that tent into a blizzard in temperatures around 40 below, wearing socks and underwear. They were all found dead. Some had simply frozen. But others had crushed skulls and shattered ribs with no wound on the skin. One was missing her tongue. And traces of radiation were found on their clothing. Whatever sent them running was so terrifying that staying inside a warm tent felt like the worst option. If you would rather sit with a real, documented mystery than a made-up one, stay with me, because this is a true case. The evidence is genuine, and it has never been fully explained. Digging into exactly this kind of story is what this channel is for, so subscribe and stick around. The group set out in late January 1959. They were students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, led by a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov, 10 people in all. Every one of them an experienced cross-country skier heading for a peak called Otorten on one of the hardest winter routes in the region. Early on, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and turned back. He stood there and watched his friends ski away, and that illness saved his life. He would be the only one of them left alive. The remaining 9 pushed on, and on the 1st of February, they pitched their final camp on the eastern slope of a mountain whose name, in the local Mansi language, translates to something close to Dead Mountain. Then, they stopped sending word. When the date they were due back came and went with no telegram, a search was organized. It was more than 3 weeks before searchers reached the campsite on the 26th of February. And what they found made no sense. The tent was half collapsed and buried in snow. But it had been cut open from the inside with a knife. Everything the hikers needed to survive was still in there. Their heavy boots, their coats, their equipment, all neatly where they had left it. From the tent, sets of footprints led down the slope toward a forest nearly a mile away. The prints were made by people in socks. A single shoe or bare feet. Whatever drove them out, they did not stop to dress. They walked. They did not run in a scatter. They walked down the mountain in the killing cold, away from the only shelter they had. I've read a lot of strange cases, and that detail is the one that genuinely unsettles me. Because frightened people grab their coats. These people had the gear right there and chose the freezing dark over it. At the edge of the forest, under a tall cedar, the searchers found the first 2 bodies. They were shoeless and dressed only in their underwear, lying near the remains of a small fire. Branches on the cedar were broken as high as 5 meters up, as if someone had climbed it. Maybe to look back toward the camp. Between the tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were found, including Dyatlov himself, lying in poses that suggested they had been trying to crawl back up to the tent when the cold took them. For weeks. These 5 deaths were blamed on simple hypothermia, which can cause a strange behavior called paradoxical undressing, where a freezing person feels a sudden burning heat and tears off their clothes. That explained 5 of them. Then, in May, the snow melted enough to find the last 4, and the explanation fell apart. If a case where the official story keeps collapsing is the kind of thing that pulls you in, that is exactly what this channel goes looking for, and one tap on subscribe keeps the next one coming. The final 4 had been lying in a ravine under deep snow, and their injuries were horrific. 2 had badly fractured ribs. 1 had a major skull fracture. And here is the part that has fueled 60 years of argument. Those massive internal injuries came with almost no external wound. One of the original investigators compared the force to a car crash, yet the skin was largely intact, as if the bodies had been crushed by enormous pressure. One of the women, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue and her eyes, and when the clothing was tested, some of it carried unexpected levels of radiation. The Soviet authorities investigated for 3 months, concluded the hikers had died from what they called a compelling natural force, closed the case, and sealed the files. That vague phrase, a compelling natural force, is exactly what kept the mystery alive, because it explained nothing. So the theories multiplied. Campers 50 miles away reported strange orange spheres of light in the sky that same night, which fed ideas about secret military tests and the radiation on the clothes. Others pointed to the missing soft tissue and whispered about an attack. Except there were no other footprints anywhere, no sign of any outsider. And the local Mansi people were peaceful and cleared early on. Some scientists proposed infrasound, low-frequency sound generated by wind over that specific terrain, powerful enough to cause overwhelming dread and panic. Each theory explained one piece and stumbled on another. The most serious modern answer came in 2021 when 2 scientists, Johann Gaume and Alexander Puzrin, published a study using real avalanche physics and computer modeling. They argued that when the hikers cut into the snow slope to shelter their tent, they set up the conditions for a small, delayed slab of snow to break loose hours later in the night. A slab like that, sliding onto people lying down, could deliver exactly the kind of crushing injury seen in the ravine with little surface damage. And the fear of a larger avalanche would explain why they cut the tent and fled. It is the most plausible explanation anyone has produced. And even the authors are careful to say they have added plausibility, not proof. Veteran hikers still object that the slope was not steep enough, that there was no avalanche debris when the rescuers arrived, and that the missing tongue and the radiation are not explained by snow at all. So here is where it actually stands. And I will not pretend otherwise for you. After 60 years, a reopened investigation, and modern science, the avalanche model is probably the best answer we have, and it still does not close every door. So, tell me what you think that night really was. A freak slab of snow and the cruelty of the cold? Or something the files never admitted? The next case I want to take you into is 2 men found dead on a hill in Brazil, wearing homemade lead masks over their eyes, with a note telling them when to swallow capsules and wait for a signal. That one is up next.